Disclaimer: the following video will contain spoilers. In the hopes of a pharmaceutical breakthrough for heart disease, a team must venture out to Isle Saint-Hubert and extract the blood of three large dinosaurs from the fields: aviation, aquatic, and terrestrial. Oh, Jurassic Park, how they've destroyed you over the years. Since its first release, every movie that followed seemed to have a slow decline, especially after Jurassic World. In my opinion, the original trilogy is far better than any movie since Jurassic World. Yes, even Jurassic World. As good as people say it is, it's just a rehash of the original, just with the inclusion of hybrids. And I will never forgive them for including hybrids, because every movie that followed, they had to include a hybrid. Except for Dominion, but that has other issues. Whatever happened to having actual dinosaurs in your movie? Or, well, a good story. Anyway, I can go on a tangent, so I'll stop there. Jurassic World Rebirth falls under the same category. It has the same problems as every Jurassic World movie, and as a result, the movie became predictable and boring. So it goes without saying that Jurassic World Rebirth failed in these three fields. 1. Unlikable characters. 2. A contrived plot. And 3. A flawed story. Now, before we begin, I do have to say a little disclaimer. I know it's not accurate, but for simplicity, I will refer to both the Mosasaurus and Quetzalcoatlus as dinosaurs at times when discussing them. Let's begin. These are our heroes? As I've mentioned many times in my other reviews, we have to like our characters, like the protagonist, if we, the audience, are supposed to follow them on their journey. For this to happen, they have to be likable, giving the audience a reason to care for them. It also helps if these characters aren't bland. Not caring for the protagonist would result in me not caring about the story, feeling bored, and wanting the movie to end. Needless to say, the movie didn't do an adequate job in making these characters likable, so I didn't care for their survival. Instead, what kept me hooked on the screen were the dinosaurs, but there could only be so much before I start to get bored. I do sympathize for the writers. I imagine it would be hard to come up with a story with all the problems Fallen Kingdom and Dominion presented. However, that is a separate issue that I will not be talking about in this review. But that should not excuse the writers from creating such a contrived story with barely any inconveniences. But staying on topic with characters. Each character introduction was brief, offering little to no exposition or backstory to elicit audience care for them. And in any scene involving character backstory, it was delivered entirely through dialogue, leading to a boring scene altogether. As a result, I was not fully invested in most of these characters. But the biggest issue was that nothing about them really piqued my interest, or was new. What I'm trying to say is that each one of these characters derives from one we've already seen. Of course, we have the brooding and mysterious protagonist, the evil corporate man, the field expert or dinosaur nerd, the tough security with a tiny brain, the civilians, and the dinosaur food. But enough talk, let's go through the characters. Starting off with Zora. Upon first introduction, the character of Zora did not sit well with me. Her arrogance and demeanor was not one I'd root for. And when the movie wanted to get onto the story as quickly as possible, the movie failed at painting a clear picture of her actual character. Who is she? And why do I need to care for her? What the movie presented in the beginning was her badass personality and her lust for money. Two traits that stick with her until the very end, of which I am not on board with. And those scenes where she gave us a little bit of more backstory through dialogue did not help me like this character at all, as it continued to paint Zora as a bad person.
Oh, wow. That's terrible, Zora.
Oh, but Rod, didn't Grant do it for the money as well? While yes, it is true that Alan Grant in the original Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3 took on this journey for money, he did it to support his team, to have enough funds to continue digging. because that was his passion. Yet here, Zora is doing it out of greed and nothing more. And sure, in the end, she undergoes a change of hearts and agrees to do the right thing for no money. But the journey doesn't emphasize this change. More of this later. In the end, Zora's character feels empty, with nothing for me to hold on to. Therefore, I disliked this character. Martin Krebs is a businessman, a corporate man, and it does not take a genius to know that his twist is yet to come, if you can even call it that. He would value corporate greed over anything humane, leading up to his death. And we are not surprised. The problem with his character was that he wasn't as strong an antagonist as other corporate men in this franchise. Yes, he wants to get these blood samples to help people with heart disease, which perhaps he's going to sell for billions, if not trillions of dollars, where only the wealthy can afford. But without this character explicitly confirming this, nor his actions being remotely close to evil, yes, I'll expand on this later. His character also felt bland, and his death was unwarranted, in my opinion. But given that he derives from a character from this franchise, his fate was sealed. Needless to say that I was a bit disappointed how Dr. Loomis's character was handled. He is a dinosaur nerd, but most importantly, a civilian. Yet, he is crucial to this mission because of his extensive knowledge of these dinosaurs. However, when his expertise in the field is not depicted in the movie besides stating the obvious, then it makes his character artificial. I guess to put it blatantly, Dr. Loomis reminds me of Milo from Atlantis, The Lost Empire. In that movie, each character had their own set of skills, but in order to navigate through this mysterious world, they had to rely on Milo. And through the journey, he realizes the Colonel's true intentions and defends Atlantis. But in Jurassic World Rebirth, Dr. Loomis's character just felt like any other character. It is not like these characters were sidetracked, ended up lost, and Dr. Loomis helped navigate through the island to get back on track, while evading, escaping, or using his dinosaur expertise that the movie deliberately stated in the beginning.
I thought I was just advising.
You are, in person. We're not qualified to identify the animals or predict behavior.
I know I can't keep you guys here for long, so I'll speed through the family. Yes, I agree that this family being in this movie felt forced and contrived. Yes, the father is an idiot for going on this journey to begin with. Yes, their subplot had a bunch of conveniences that allowed them to remain alive. However, despite that, Ruben, Manuel Garcia Rulfo, managed to be my favorite out of the family. Here's why. Xavier's, David Lacono's, introduction painted him as a lazy good-for-nothing bum. And if you ask me, I thought he was going to be eaten. In short, I did not like this character. I was annoyed by this character, despite some of his jokes landing.
Somebody's got another idea.
I have some weed. Might be a little damp, but maybe you just chill here, no? You don't smoke. You do smoke?
But quite frankly, given his character and his first appearance, I thought the movie would use him to carry a theme or message for both the family and hero group.
I don't even know why she wants to be with me.
Well, she sees who you are.
Thank God she doesn't.
Other people may talk shit about us, but we don't have to do the job for them. Otherwise, it becomes true.
But sadly, he was just another character with plot armor used mainly for comedic relief. His girlfriend Teresa, Luna Blaze, was also one I did not like. Her being annoyed at her father for not seeing Xavier's good side irked me, given that, besides saving her, we didn't see this. Which is why I thought he was going to do something in the end to give weight to Teresa's words. Sure, he saved her, but it seemed like she would be fine, assuming all the family members jumped, swam, and went onto land without the risk of dying. But truth be told, my biggest gripe with her character was how her main role was to be an obnoxious loudmouth. Yes, you can say that it was warranted because Martin Krebs didn't help her out, but you know what? I'll just explain later. Either way, she too did nothing after being stranded on the island besides being there. Isabella, Audrina Miranda, felt like a written character only for the excuse to have the cute little dinosaur Dolores for merchandise. Her plot armor and relationship with this dinosaur was contrived. As for the father, like I said, he's the only one who is sane. Bear with me. He doesn't make comments regarding Xavier's personality because he knows it would be useless. So he doesn't really start any drama or complications or conflict. But his biggest objective is to protect his family. Unfortunately, yes, you are right. Despite the fact that he does make idiotic mistakes, such as jumping off the boat with his family prematurely while being hunted by a mosasaur and multiple Spinosaurus, he was trying to achieve this objective. He at least serves a purpose. He wants to do the right thing, but again, the problem was how his character was written.
We must lead to the village. Maybe there's a radio?
Great. Yeah, we'll use that to get the guy who tried to kill me.
Or, you know, to get rescued?
Yeah. Then we'll get the son of a bitch.
Right.
Duncan Kincaid, Marshala Ali, apologies if I butchered that, was my favorite out of the bunch. He had a bit of mystery, and he had my sympathy, even if we got a little backstory from him. My favorite part was that he felt like an actual character. Unfortunately, he too was written poorly. Anyway, all our heroes were incomplete or lacking, so I questioned how the movie expects us to care and root for these characters to begin with. Most of them had no real purpose for the story, and with their personality being borderline irritating, they became unlikable to follow. You couldn't have written it some other way? How do you know when a story is forced? Well, when all we see are things needed for the plot to continue, with no smooth transition like a theme moving the story forward. But to get a clear understanding of what I mean, let me begin by sharing my disappointment with wasted potential. Including Site C sounded awesome. Sure, it's just another island that feels like it's doing the same thing as the other islands. But each one has a unique story to tell. But sadly, we were not allowed to hear it. The movie states that Site C was used for a top secret facility for creating genetically mutated dinosaurs for people's entertainment. Apparently, interest in dinosaurs has waned. This island would inevitably hold dinosaurs that were unfit for the theme park, whether they were too large, too ugly, or too dangerous to exhibit. But my gripe was that besides this information, the island remained a mystery, full of history we could not explore, like the temple the Quetzalcoatlus nests in, and the military helicopter. I'm not asking for elongated, information dumping scenes of just the island. Rather, I'm looking for scenes of these characters navigating through this island while giving us new information and insights, perhaps relating to the theme. But the movie never offered any interesting scenes that explore this island, giving us new information or insights relating to the theme. Instead, the only exploration these characters went through were those scenes I will call set pieces, designed for the plot, written in a contrived and convenient way. Therefore, by seeing just how the movie handled navigating through this island through convenience and barely any obstacles, can we truly understand why I refer to this story as being forced. There's also how the ball gets rolling. The group has to go to this island to get blood samples of these three massive dinosaurs to concoct a human medicine? And how convenient is it that all these three specimens are located on the same island? Oh, and how convenient is it that, despite being stated that travel near the equator is prohibited, that government officials rarely patrol the waters, leading to both the group and family venturing close to this island in order for the story to continue.
To avoid government patrols, but there aren't many anyway.
There are 50,000 boats on this ocean right now. One was attacked by a mosasaur. What are the odds?
This aspect really makes Kincaid's character feel pointless.
Moving things And people in and out of places they shouldn't be.
To avoid government patrols, but there aren't many anyway. No one's dumb enough to go where we're going.
To make matters worse, we had to make room for this forced family subplot, which adds no substance to either theme or story. Now, the movie has to cut between these two groups as they travel through the island, headed towards the facility without adding anything of value. If the movie had written in scenes where the family's route uncovered something that could prove useful for later, or come to realize, on their own, of the existence of some giant mutated creature, which is revealed to be the T-Rex, who either followed them or happened to cross paths with them, would the inclusion of the family and their separation be less contrived? But alas, the scenes involving the family continued with the formula of having forced dialogue that needed to be said with nothing initiating the conversation.
Hey, Xavier. You jumped in after her.
Yeah,
Respect for that.
whatever, Guapo.
Be careful where you step. Something just moved past my leg.
Hey, you want to tell me how the girl fell over the rail?
The thing, the boat, you were there.
So were you on the bridge next to her, so there was nothing you could do?
What are you implying?
While altogether having no real obstacles besides those set pieces that I mentioned. In their case, the river chase scene. As for the ending, when the Mutadons and D-Rex finally show up, it felt useless at that point. They just showed up to give a false sense of stakes, finish off Krebs, and give that illusion that the heroes were victorious. So due to the nothing burger, if you will, that the movie was, from a forced reason to go to the island, exploring the island with ease, a family that divides the plot of the movie with nothing to show for it, and an ending that felt lackluster, can we conclude that the movie had a forced story? A leak in the script. Now that we have gone over how forced the story was, let's dive deeper and explore how problematic certain scenes were and how it did not help the movie beat the allegations of a forced story. I wish I could talk about every leak in the boat, but that would be redundant. The crazy part is that we don't have to go looking too far into the story to find a problematic scene, because it begins with one. In the opening, 17 years earlier, in the top secret facility on Isle Saint-Hubert, the scientists are experimenting with genetics, mutating these creatures. During one of their procedures, one of these scientists drops a candy wrapper, which gets sucked up into the ventilation system of a sliding door. This causes the entire system to malfunction, and these creatures to break free, and the island becoming abandoned. Now, while I understand the implications and symbolisms where even in the most contained environment, it only takes something small to bring the whole system down, I think it was done poorly because it appeared more comical than symbolic. But without this accident, the D-Rex wouldn't have escaped, nor would most of the story have occurred. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, imagine if this island was still operational, and this group had to go covert while trying to obtain the blood samples. But this family puts a pep in their step as their separation can cause their mission to fail. Inevitably, the family accidentally causes the accident, freeing the D-Rex, which leads to Act 3. Or you can switch out the family with some sort of competition, which Martin Krebs mentions in the beginning. Obviously, this storyline poses timeline discrepancies, so that wouldn't be ideal. What I'm trying to say is writing a story where everything comes together nicely, including the confidentiality and the covertness of the mission, the family or competition being part of the obstacles, navigating through the island undetected, would be 10 times better than this contrived mess. But due to timeline issues, and this scene is how the movie opens, I would have placed more emphasis on either the research or the dangers of this island. I had also foreshadowed the D-Rex throughout the movie, leading up to its final confrontation. Otherwise, this opening doesn't make sense other than being a contrived sequence that leads to a forced story. When the team is discussing if they should go off course to rescue the family after hearing their cry for help, part of the group prefers to carry on with the mission, while some want to help them out. Those who want to continue as planned stated that millions of dollars are at stake, and how it would be difficult to get another chance at getting close to the mosasaur. However, without an actual threat to their precious millions of dollars, and without having a means to track the sea creature, their worry and dialogue doesn't hold any weight.
We have competitors, and Mr. Parker does not tolerate second place.
Can, but Z, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars here.
I also find it funny that the team was super adamant about being search and rescue when the family's boat was sinking. But when they're on an island full of dinosaurs, all they do is hope that they find the village and continue with their mission.
Get what we need and get out.
Those kids, the people who went to the ocean, they could still be alive. I say we find them first and then we get out. Get out how?
Does anyone want to hear the backup plan?
She has a backup plan?
She doesn't get out of bed without a backup plan.
We're search and rescue now.
How does that make any sense? I understand that looking for them would deviate from the mission, and since they only have 24 hours, they need to get the other two samples as quickly as they could. But the problem is, this doesn't add stakes at all. This makes the group look bad. Besides, if you have a random family venturing through this island and come out intact, as opposed to a team specialized with certain skill sets dying, then it's just a contrived story. Sure, this team puts themselves in a dangerous situation, but it does not prevent the family from having problems of their own. Yes, they face off against the T-Rex in that scene, but they still come out unscathed. Anyway, if there was another group after this DNA, and by rescuing this family they'll lose the lead, or if they weren't able to track this mosasaurus, can their worry and words mean something? What should have been said is how bringing aboard civilians would put this family in danger, and reiterating that their mission is covert, and bringing them along would pose a threat to their mission. It also doesn't help that when they are on board, they continue talking about the mission as if the family wasn't within hearing distance. What happened to confidentiality? Why do you want the family to know about the mission, which can result in one of them screwing it up? It almost happened when Teresa tried calling for help. And while I'm at it, let's discuss that scene. Ruben tells Teresa to call for help. Teresa tries, but is stopped by Martin. The thing about this scene was how idiotic it was. First off, Teresa pushes Martin away, causing her to fall. So Martin did not push her. Second, since he was pushed, he had to recuperate from the fall. And while he did seem to have ample time to try and rescue her, I don't think it was enough. Yes, the scene's purpose was to show Martin's character twist, where we realize he's a bad guy and will pose a threat later on. The issue isn't Martin's twist, because we all knew it was coming. The issue was how the scene was executed and how it leads to another poorly executed scene. Martin could have very well showed his true colors by walking towards Teresa, stepping on her hands and watching her fall. But instead, the movie commits all the wrong decisions, resulting in bad characters, bad dialogue, and a bad scene. Not being eaten, Teresa is now aggravated with Martin. According to her, he let her fall.
Are you okay?
He let me fall.
Who?
The guy on the boat, he tried to kill me.
I knew he was creepy.
Yeah, we'll use that to get the guy who tried to kill me.
And so when the two parties regrouped, she furiously wanted to kill Martin for allowing her to fall. Martin steps out of the tree line holding a gun and lies about trying to catch her instead of telling the truth. She pushed him, she fell, he could not get up quickly enough to go and help her.
Grab my hand, please. You stopped me calling for help. You wanted me to die.
What are you talking about? I tried to catch you.
No, you looked right at me and you let me fall.
She's lying.
He also should have mentioned how he prevented her from calling for help because they could wind up in jail since they are doing something illegal.
What you're proposing is really illegal.
The fact that this tiny detail kept being brushed upon was infuriating. Instead of being calm and collected, telling the truth, and reminding everyone about confidentiality, he confirms everyone's speculation and accepts responsibility by waving the gun around. The thing that pissed me off was how scenes earlier, out of the blue, Zora asked Martin how Teresa fell. Again, lying, besides telling the truth, Martin explains what happened. So upon hearing Teresa angrily stating that Martin let her fall, Zora yells at Krebs, without any shred of evidence if what Teresa is saying is true.
Past my leg. Hey, you want to tell me how the girl fell over the rail?
The thing, the boat, you were there.
So were you on the bridge next to her, so there was nothing you could do?
What are you implying?
What, who?
That guy who he let me fall.
Hey, he tried to kill her.
Wait, who let you fall?
Hey, Krebs!
If this scene was any good, Martin should be calm and collected, present with the group, explaining the truth. However, no one believes him. This confuses him to the point where he goes off on a rant how he seems to be the only one who truly understands the mission. It was him who didn't want to bring along the family in the first place because of confidentiality. Along the journey, he also makes suggestions or prefers to go down a different road, but everyone keeps denying him or ignoring him. He could also state in this rant that he changes his mind where only the wealthy could afford this medicine, to prevent people like Teresa the possibility of living 20 more years with this medicine. Teresa gets mad, grabs a stick, and tries hitting him. Martin then takes out the gun and crosses the line of no return by shooting Teresa. Bringing in my suggestion from earlier, the D-Rex followed the family there, sneaked up on the group, causing them to scatter. Martin comes across the map, but doesn't tell anyone. He grabs the keys and takes off towards the dock after seeing the helicopter be destroyed by this D-Rex, leaving the group to fend after themselves. Moving on to the team getting blood samples. When the team is on the island, practically every scene involving them is about them getting the blood samples. There's no navigating through the island, no character development, and no obstacles. Even in the blood sample scenes, there really isn't any conflict. The Titanosaurus scene had no obstacles. Instead, they try to capture the same magical moment as a Brachiosaur scene in Jurassic Park. It didn't work here, to be honest, because it didn't achieve something. In Jurassic Park, it achieved a huge milestone. Dinosaurs are real. Here, I'm not so sure. So not having obstacles elongated this scene, making it boring. If there was any conflict, there could have been a predator trying to take one of these dinosaurs down, leading to a stampede and not being able to extract blood from one of these dinosaurs. After extracting the blood, the Quetzalcoatlus was next. And lo and behold, they are neighbors. Sure, getting the DNA of the embryo had its obstacles when the mother returned to the nest. But in reality, I call this fake conflict because everything else of what happened. Dr. Loomis survives this fall, the vial didn't break, causing the group to actually have to dart the mother instead of getting DNA off the embryo. There were stairs leading to the temple and to the ground level, which was odd how they missed it in the first place. And there was enough rope for Zora to also go down to ground level. Lastly, I want to talk about Act 3. Mutodons arrive for some strange reason, causing the group to split up. The family undergo a similar scene as the kitchen scene in Jurassic Park. Zora and Krebs hide under a car, and Kincaid and Dr. Loomis go inside the laboratory. Here, they uncover a map that shows the pipeline, which conveniently leads to the other end of the island, where a boat is waiting for them. Somehow, Martin hears of this news and takes the car towards the dock, instead of waiting for the helicopter. Like he knew the helicopter was done for, without even seeing the D-Rex, seeing the helicopter get destroyed, or seeing any signs that indicate this way towards the dock. Somehow, the D-Rex shows up at the same time Martin is pulling up, resulting in him being torn apart by this D-Rex, disregarding any of the main group. The D-Rex finally spots the family and goes after them, but then gets distracted by the flare Duncan lights up. To keep his promise he just made to Isabella on not letting her get hurt, Duncan sacrifices himself. Or so we think. Unfortunately, as much as I would not like that, I think Duncan should have died. It would have tied with his comment on refusing to die in the jungle, allowing Zora to go through a change of hearts, and completing his arc based on his backstory.
Don't wait, Zora, get the kids!
It was heavily implied that his son died, causing a divorce with his wife. Seeing Isabella reminds him of his son, which is why he was really mad at Reuben in the beginning. It just sadly falls apart after they arrived on the island because he made no remarks on helping the family or how leaving them alone brings back his trauma, because the movie has to happen. I also failed to see how the options that they had was give the blood samples to everyone or only some people.
Well, what if we get the samples and we don't give them over to a company that makes a life-saving drug and then prices it so 99% of the planet can't afford it?
Science is for all of us, not some of us.
We open source it. We give it to the whole world.
A bunch of people create the medicine. Nobody owns the patent. Everyone has access. And tens of millions of lives are saved. It's all of us, not some of us.
Aren't they under Martin's mission, pay, and contract? So aren't they legally obligated to give the blood samples to him? I don't really think they have a real say in who gets it or not, considering they're working for Martin. It's not like Martin can't just make the medicine affordable for everyone while exporting it globally so everyone can have it. In conclusion, Jurassic World Rebirth is full of flaws. This contrived story resulted in a very poorly written mess that at the end, not even the dinosaurs could have saved the movie. There were so many bad choices that led to characters I did not want to follow, plot with obstacles being barely an inconvenience, and problematic scenes that made the movie sink. But anyway, those are just my thoughts. Did you enjoy the movie? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you in my next review.